Welcome to Community Chat. This is the 2001 Candidates Conversations, as we will have discussions with the candidates that are going to be on your April ballot for Board of Selectmen and Board of Health. Joining us today is Mr. Alex Hagerty. Alex is not only on the Board of Health, he also chairs the Capital Planning Committee. Alex, welcome to the program, sir.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me. A pleasure to be here.
So, we can't assume that everybody knows who Alex Hagerty is and your service on the Board of Health. How long have you been on the Board of Health, and what other committees have you served on or been appointed to?
So for people who don't know me, my name is Alex Hagerty. I am the Vice Chairman of the Abington Board of Health. I've been serving the Board of Health since 2018. I also serve, as you say, as the Chairman of the newly formed Abington Capital Planning Committee. A little bit about me: I'm a lifelong resident of Abington, born and raised in Green Wave. I'm actually third generation of Hagertys growing up in Abington. A little bit about my background of employment. Professionally, I've worked in management with budgets and payroll, human resources, communication, and sales. And then circling all back to the Board of Health, I've been serving since 2018. And in that time frame, I've been a huge advocate for substance awareness, and people struggling with addiction, trying to let them know they're not alone and there are avenues to seek help, and also talking about mental health, and dealing with a trash strike that we had in 2018, plastic bag bans, different regulations, and not to mention COVID-19 that we're still in the pandemic with, and dealing with that. I think that, and so now I am a candidate for Abington Selectmen to be the people's voice for Abington. I believe with my experience, my background, and my dedication to Abington, that I could truly be a great asset to the Board of Selectmen. What
was the appeal in running for Board of Selectmen? What is it about running for? Because that's a very important board. It's the governing board of the town.
Yeah, so the Board of Selectmen, it's the policy decision of the town, working with the town manager, overseeing the departments and things like that. Abington is such, so what was my inspiration to run? Being a lifelong resident of Abington, there's a sense of pride being from Abington and living in Abington. And I always was taught from my grandfather, Vincent Hagerty, that serving your communities is something that we should all try to do at some point. And when I was serving on the Board of Health, helping people with trash and and COVID-19, keeping people informed, it's been an honor and a privilege. And I just think that now we're getting into fiscal year 2022, and we're slowly, and things are looking better, coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think that we just need to have strong leadership going into a recovery after the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's the town meeting is right around the corner in the month of May. What is your understanding of the town's fiscal 2022 budget, and it's as to where it stands financially?
So financially, we are in kind of a tough situation. Revenues coming into the town, typical revenues that we would get, wasn't as the same as we would expect, being with the whole COVID-19 and things being shut down. So looking at fiscal 2021, the budget we had was $55 million. And expecting, and I know right now that the Finance Committee is deliberating on the budget for fiscal year 2022. So, I mean, there is a lot of uncertainty in the future, but we need to make sure that, we're not cutting back on services. We're keeping our commitments to the residents, and advocating for, fiscal responsibility, even though, we are going into tough times.
Okay. Can anything be done to improve the town's financial standing or even help stimulate further economic development, especially during a pandemic?
I think definitely the development of, eventually when we have the development of Union Point, bringing in that revenue from the commercial will definitely be great for the town. And also, the pot shops opening up in town. I mean, it slowly bringing in, but we're going to have to look at every avenue.
You mentioned Union Point. Union Point is yet again beginning to work under another master developer, and I've lost count as to how many master developers who have come in. We've seen different changes. Knowing that 3 communities are involved in redeveloping the Naval Air Station, what are your concerns for Union Point? At least that's what it's called right now, Southfield Redevelopment Authority. What are your concerns as to the development of that parcel of land or parcels of land? And what would you like to see done that will be to benefit this community, knowing that it's an extension of Abington?
I would definitely like to see, I think it's about time we have done something with that area. We've had that property for a long time now and under different developers, and we zoned it only for commercial business and not residential, because if we had done residential services, we'd have to increase the budget for the fire, the police, and the school department, so we getting into that area. But I would like to see some commercial development going up in there. I think it's long overdue. I would like to see maybe some arenas or things like that. Or, I mean, I know in the early planning when it was Southfield, we talk about movie theaters or restaurants and things of that nature. I think I would like to see that. But at the same time, we also need to look into how we're going to get in to that area from Abington. So there needs to be discussion with Spruce Street and those residents, and just other avenues how we can best use that land.
You mentioned theater. I know you got a little bit of a background in theater. I've also heard that residents have actually openly mentioned maybe a retro type development like a drive-in. Would you welcome something like that for Abington residents to check out and enjoy as a source of entertainment?
100%, absolutely. I wasn't around for the days when Abington used to have a drive-in. I'm a little too young for that, but I would love to see a drive-in or something like that of that nature. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I went to Mendon last year just to go to drive-in, just to do something, and it's nice to see the community come together, and we have such a great community here in Abington and great residents. One town, one family. It's not just a saying; we mean it. And I think having something like a drive-in would be great and beneficial for our town.
So, capital projects. I think probably you would know better than I would. I think that the biggest capital project or expenditure to recent mind was, I believe, the very building that we're sitting at right now. It's the middle senior high school. What are some of the other major capital projects that the town has to take a look at or is looking at currently that you're hearing from voters and that you're looking at as not only a resident but potentially a member of the Board of Selectmen in the future?
So hearing from a lot of the departments, and we just had a meeting last night, capital meeting, a lot of our like the Woodsdale School, we need a new roof on that. It's been there since 1980, and we have perhaps a year or two left on the lifespan of it. But at the same time, there's DPW, new trucks, new equipment, not to mention road work that needs to go on. I mean, John Stone, the DPW director, was explaining to our capital planning meeting that we want to see they want to work on roads more, and fixing our roads. And unfortunately, a lot of the roads being fixed by well, maybe not unfortunately, but we could use more Chapter 90 funding. Just for example, in a typical year, Chapter 90 funding will get perhaps $370,000, for the DPW and Chapter 90. And Lincoln Street alone will be about 80% of that year, just to fix that one street alone. So we need to, look at projects on working different streets. And then, fire station. I mean, that's a whole topic in itself.
Excellent. It was a year ago that the Board of Selectmen interviewed and eventually hired a new town manager. Town is currently in the process of looking to hire a new police chief with Chief Dave Majensky retiring. Give me your thoughts on what you'd like to see in the next police chief.
For a new police chief, I believe that the police officers themselves, the officers that keep our neighborhoods safe and working so hard round the clock 24/7, I think they need to be a part of the conversation in the process. And that's where I really have to give our town manager, Scott Lambiase, a lot of credit. Scott is a very transparent leader, and even it's ultimately his decision to make for the police chief. He asks for the input of the selectmen and the town. I do think that the officers need a voice in it as well. And I want to hear their opinions on what they want to see in a new police chief. I know there's a lot of concern about turnover in the last few years and stuff like that. We're losing good officers. We're training all these officers, and they're transferring out to different towns and other departments. We want to keep our officers. We have great officers, and I want to see. I want to see all that. Working on that to improve that.
We kind of teased the whole dealing with COVID-19 earlier on in our conversation. I want to ask you as to should the town think to provide assistance to local businesses, whether it's a small business, a restaurant, to help them get through and survive this pandemic? Because we've seen that the pandemic has taken a lot of businesses here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I think the latest statistic was that a third of the businesses that were operating have shuttered their doors. They're no longer operating in business. Would you like to find a way to assist, whether it's a reduction in taxes? What's your thoughts in providing such assistance as a community?
I believe, if I have the privilege to serve as a selectman, I want to see if we can be fueling our small businesses, with economic recovery programs, either from the state or the federal. Perhaps, lowering, as you said, about tax rates for these businesses. I think that's a conversation we'd have to have with the finance committee and the town manager. But I think recovery programs for our small businesses to encourage growth, we need it. And that's why, serving on the Board of Health, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place, because, we have to keep people safe, but at the same time, we're like, we know these businesses, we know these owners, and we're like, we don't want to see you go. So, when the pandemic started, and the regulations were coming in from the state and the federal. Myself and Chairman Chris Schultz went to each restaurant in town and said, hey, look, this is what, the governor's bringing down and stuff like that, but, this is what you're going to have to follow and things like that. But how can we help you? What can we do to keep you guys afloat? And the biggest thing for them that they said to us was, promote us, promote us, promote us. And I made a couple of images and stuff like that with all the restaurants and eateries and stuff like that on a little image, and shared it, blasted it all over social media and stuff like that. And if I got takeout from someplace, I'm like, okay, make sure you go to Old Town Cafe, or get something from the Abington Ale House. But circling all back to programs, absolutely.
Okay. And I mentioned that knowing that, we've seen a couple of businesses in Abington, probably most notably Bemis Drug closing its doors, whether it was time or because of the struggles during COVID. We would not want to see more businesses close. So good answer on that. Staying on the COVID tip, do you feel that the town has enough resources to endure a second year of COVID? Does that concern you as a candidate for office?
Economically, it's going to be a struggle. That's why I'm a glasses half full kind of guy. I'm an optimistic. So I like to think that we are turning the corner and things are going to get better. But economically, I think if we were to see another wave, it would be detrimental to the town. But as we're looking at our numbers now and looking at people getting vaccinated, I think we're in good times. We're on a good path.
Okay. How important is water and sewer when it comes to economic development and being able to lure businesses to come to this community and set up shop?
So I'll admit, I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers. But there is one thing that, serving on the Board of Health and serving the town, is that even though when I don't know all the answers, and how specifically we go about that, I know how to get the answers. And working with, the Abington Rockland Joint Waterworks, and working with town management.
Okay. Question for you, and this is you feel free to answer however you want. Do you feel that the town and its officials effectively communicate not only with each other, but with the residents in this community?
I think so. I mean, there's always room for improvement. I definitely, when I came onto the Board of Health, a lot of people spoke to me as like, I don't even know what the Board of Health does. And now, I've constantly, talking about, different events we're doing, rabies clinic, or, when we're having our meetings, what's on the agenda, and just things like that, or, COVID-19 numbers and things of that nature. I think the more transparency and more open communication our government is, the better and more informed our community is going to be.
Okay. Is there an item or an issue that we have not discussed here collectively, but you want to take a moment to talk about, or maybe something we have talked about, but maybe you might want to have a follow-up on?
Well, two things. One is definitely about vaccines. And I have to applaud, our fire and our police and our health department, and actually, in Scott as well, on, having the vaccine clinics when we had them from the state. I'm very proud of how well they went, and it's unfortunate that we couldn't keep it in Abington, but I'm very proud that we were able to do that. And then secondly, the fire station, and we're going to have a serious conversation about, a new fire station. Talking with the fire department over the last couple of weeks, the work that our men and women at the fire department are able to do in that space is quite incredible. There's not a lot of room. Needs a lot of updates in the building. So I think we need to invest and look into a new fire station. I think most of the town agrees that as well.
Okay. Last question, or one of the last questions that I would ask you. Favorite restaurant or spot, and I'm not meaning like another eatery, but Ames Knoll or Island Grove that you like to frequent when you have a chance. And again, you don't have to name one restaurant, you don't have to name one spot, but just so you can kind of...
No, as soon as you named it, that was exactly what it hit me, was Ames Knoll. Growing up, I loved going on the pass in Ames Knoll. It's always been... I always loved going there, and then even during the pandemic, going for a run there, because you couldn't go to the gym. So running through Ames Knoll and going through the pass and seeing the beautiful lake, it's wonderful.
Okay. If folks want to find out more about your campaign, or if they want to reach out to you with questions as a candidate, is there a way for them to be able to do that?
Yes, absolutely. So you can email me at Alex Hagerty 4, the number 4, Abington@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Alex Hagerty for Selectmen. I also have my Twitter and my Instagram under the same name as well.
Well, as we do with all the candidates and yourself, we wish you the best of luck. We do all the candidates during this campaign, and we thank you for tuning into this program. Remember, if you're not sure as to when voting is taking place or where, remember it's April 24th, has been moved to the Beaverbrook. But if you have questions, please contact the town clerk's office for more details. And until next time, have yourself a good day.